Thank you for tuning in to The Balancing Fact. I'm Angela Calais. I have been a full-time realtor for the past 17 years. With 3 kids running a real estate brokerage, I work to dispel the myth that you cannot have a work-life balance when working in real estate. That balance looks different for everybody. Today, my guest is Kim Rogne. Kim is a speaker, executive business coach, entrepreneur, and author. She brings a lifetime of CEO-level entrepreneurial leadership experience in real estate sales and management, nonprofit service, coaching, and parenthood to her coaching and speaking events. Her goal is to inspire entrepreneurs to run smart businesses, build deeper relationships, embrace healthy habits, and become better leaders and live big lives. Kim's background in real estate gives her great insight on the challenges realtors have when balancing their work and home life. I can't wait to share what we discussed. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to me. I've been on kind of like a 1-year hiatus of doing any recordings. I took some time off to write a book and just needed to prioritize where I was spending my time, but I'm really excited to kind of get back into it. And as I've mentioned before, I'm pretty involved with, or have been in the past, and not as much as I'd like now, but involved with the Women's Council of Realtors. And I noticed that you were doing, or you have an event coming up with them where you would be talking about kind of like the work-life balance. And I thought, okay, I've known Kim for a really long time and she is speaking my language and we need to catch up, because you have really had like your journey in real estate, which starting from like the sales perspective to management to all different things. And now most recently you are coaching. So tell me a little bit more about what that journey has looked like for you.
Okay, as I age myself. So I started in this crazy industry back in 1998, back in the day when we had MLS books and like, I don't know, whatever MLS looked like a DOS system, basically. So I started out in sales. I was in that for about 15 years. And really, to be candid and honest, and a lot of people don't know this, I actually did leave the industry for a short period of time. So I did leave for about 2 years, still held my license, referred business out. We personally had lost a lot of money in some real estate investments during the crash. We happened to purchase some investments at the height and then decided we needed to sell them and lost a lot of money. And so we were in some significant credit card debt at that time. And I needed to take a real job because I had always been the main breadwinner in our family. My husband, a firefighter, wonderful career. I married him for his benefits, as we always joke about. But he had a glass ceiling and I didn't. And so I had been the one always making over 6 figures. So I took a job actually selling caskets. People don't know that. I worked for Batesville Casket Company. Yeah. Okay. You do what you have to do.
How did you get into that?
So a friend of mine was working there. And you were guaranteed a $90,000 salary plus bonus. And so I was like, I can sell anything to anybody. And so I would sell funeral home products to wholesale to funeral directors. So I'll be honest, I didn't last very long. And then there were a couple other jobs that I took along the way with a software company. I got into the tech industry a little bit. And what had happened was how I got back into real estate is when I worked for a tech company, my job was to sell, I would say every company has some sort of technology infrastructure. So real estate companies, larger real estate companies, besides just being on laptops as real estate agents, to run the company, they might have a server room, right? Where everything is backed up. And so I would sell that type of product and service. And so I reached out to all my contacts at real estate companies. And I was like, hey, you got to meet with me because I got to present. Just do it, even if you don't want anything. So I reached all the companies locally and I met with them. And eventually somebody approached me and they're like, hey, we don't want to buy your product, but we would like to talk to you about a management position. So that's how I fell into management and got back to my true love, because I have always had a deep passion for I wouldn't say the buyers and sellers. I would say the realtor,
Sure.
the small business ownership of
Mhm.
running a real estate business. And so
Yeah.
that's how I fell into that. And so I did that the last 10 years. And that's kind of what happened during that whole time.
Yeah. And during that time, your girls are growing. So they're in college
Yes.
now. So you're kind of
Yes.
into a new journey yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And as much as real estate sales can be a delicate balance, right? I would say the difference when I moved into management was it was more on my time. So
Mhm.
anytime that you're running a small business, whether it's a real estate company or another company, your work is never done.
Yeah.
It's never done because you can market more, you can sell more, you can tweak a system more, whatever. I would say there were less, when I was in management, there were less 911s that weren't on my time, right?
Mhm.
Because if you're a real estate agent, you might need to stop, drop, and roll on a Saturday when you don't plan it because you got to write an offer. Well, if I'm doing anything that has to do with management, maybe it's on the phone. So it did allow me a little bit more, I guess I would say, time with my family when they were younger. But I'm a serial entrepreneur and I am definitely obsessed with my work.
Mhm.
So that was more self-control that I had to put in place in order to truly be there for my girls. I'll be
Yeah, and
honest.
I
And that's just
think
me
that
being
that's like an
honest.
inherent struggle with people who are successful in real estate sales is that there is always something else you can be doing. You think,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm going to get this done and that's really going to free up a lot of my time. Then all I have to do is this. But no, you're always thinking about what's bigger, what's better. How can I better serve my clients? How can I better make this system work? And so there's really that constant ability, which is great about the business, to grow. There's no top, where you can just stop. Um, there's always that opportunity. And so we're kind of speaking like from my personality standpoint, like I never want to think I could be doing better because then I have to, right? So there's that kind of struggle where do I really want to take this on if I can't do it 100%? And then there's the other side where it's like, I've got my family, I've got my home, I've got my kids, and I don't want to not do that 100% either. So,
Right.
and I imagine in management, those are probably, and now with coaching too, those are some of the things that you work with agents on is how to manage
Yes.
it out.
And not just agents. So 50% of my coaching roster is not in the real estate industry. So I work with entrepreneurs and small business owners. So a lot of solopreneurs from the age of 19 is my youngest
Really?
client who's building out his own business, which is so fun, all the way up to, experienced and maybe like wanting to retire in 5 years. And so it's not just the real estate industry. It's really anybody who's entrepreneurial spirited.
Yeah.
And so when you are entrepreneurial, you're constantly thinking, dreaming, building. You've got all these ideas. I mean, Angela, look at you. Like, really? You're clearly entrepreneurial spirited. You own your own brokerage. You've got a podcast. You're writing a book. I don't even know what else you do. I need to interview you. But, you can't help it. That's your gift.
Yeah.
That's a gift. It's a true gift to be able to do that. But, when you talk about the balance, right now, my kids are in college and in retrospect, well, nobody's perfect. There's a lot of things I could have done better, but there were a lot of things I did right. And I do coach moms more than dads. Nothing against dads if you're listening. Just for whatever reason, mom's got a different kind of hold on the family.
Yeah. No, and I kind of see it that way too. And for whatever reason, I can speak to moms. I've never been a dad. So I'm just speaking from my perspective, but that entrepreneurial spirit, it's something that is great, but it can also be a flaw. It can really be a drawback, and I always say I don't want my ambition to get in the way of my parenting or, something else. Like I can always be ambitious later. This is my time now. So trying to figure out and prioritize. And something I always talk to sometimes when I'm either speaking or just talking to my kids, every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, and you just don't know what it is yet. So if you are choosing to say yes to something, that really has to be something that you are committed to and willing to do 100%. So that's something that I struggle with, because it's also, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this. And
Yes.
you can't, because then you have to prioritize, and what's more important, making it to the kids' games or writing this book. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's taking a pause, putting something on hold so that you can, fulfill what is making you happy as a person. And that's the other thing too, is how do you define yourself, right? So are you defining yourself as a business owner, or as a realtor, or as a mom, or are you wearing multiple hats? It's so hard because you want to identify yourself. You want to be able to say, like, this is me, and you really can't. And something that I was told once that really speaks to me is real estate is what I do. It's not who I am. Right. So you have to take who you are and put that into your real estate business, but you can't define yourself by it. And I don't know if that's something that you would agree with or not, but that's sometimes that's what I have to remind myself of when certain things start taking over.
Yeah, right. And it's balancing the relationship in a marriage, right? I've been married, I'm going on 26 years. So it's not just kids as well.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely now I'm in a different phase of my life where now I can fold back in some friendships that I haven't had time for, right? Because it's counterbalancing, right?
Yes.
So a lot of times when I'm coaching, and in any, business world, again, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, is you always hear the balance. Well, look at the name of your podcast. And so it's more counterbalance though, because sometimes you have to give more time or energy in one circle of your life than the other. Yeah. You're never going to have perfect harmony. When we think about when our kids were little, well, the demand that they need on us, meaning our full body, is different than when they're teenagers, right? When they're teenagers, they're in sports, that's going to the activity. And you go and you start a new business. Well, you might need to pour a little bit more time into that to get it launched. And so you're constantly, it's these moving bubbles, if you will. And it's the communication, right? When we talk about marriage, so I have this married couple that I coach, and they own multiple businesses. And so I coach them separately, and then we coach once a month together to visit their profit and loss statement and all their businesses together. And we were talking about the balance of coming home, and they've got a young family, and they have 3 young kids. And I was like, well, here's the thing. You may all have different energy at different times. And the more that you can communicate together, and I would say to you, Angela, and I'm your spouse, I might say, hey, listen, I had a really rough day. And on a scale of 1 to 10, my energy right now to be a really great parent or be a great spouse is really at about a 5. Can you pick up the pieces? And so that was one of the tactics we did. And they're like, oh my gosh, we love that, because we don't all have the same energy all the time. But if we're in partnership, running a household or running a business, if we communicate about our energy level, the counterbalance becomes, okay, you need to fill in a little bit more here because I'm only here right now. And so that's just a really good tactic, if that makes sense. Of the counterbalance. So,
and I love the fact that you brought up marriage, because my mind always goes to the kids. And I think that's something that frustrates my husband too, is that that's where my mind always goes first. And then you have to remember, that this is this other relationship that I can't put to the wayside. It's equally as important. And I'm sure, along the way, we rely on our spouses for the support that we need to really put the time and effort into the job and the building of the businesses and the building of the career. We rely on that. So let's nurture that relationship too. And it goes both ways. I heard once something like what was it? I don't think it was like the purpose of a marriage, but it might have been something like that. And I think that's why initially it was kind of my drawback, but it was the purpose is to serve each other. And I think and mind you, I think I heard this so I've been married, I don't know, 18 years or 19 years almost. So I heard it, probably like 16 years ago. And I was like, screw that. Like my job is not to serve anybody. And, but we learn and we grow. And so there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier. And, we all have ups and downs, but this is so much easier when we are serving each other.
Yeah.
And gosh, I wish I had not been so stubborn and closed-minded at that time. We could have saved ourselves some heartache, but, we're still married, and it's getting so much easier as time goes on because we've been through this for so long, and we know the challenges, like when I have to run out for an emergency or, the screen door broke on this listing, honey, can you go take a look at it? Because you're going to be way faster than me trying to find a handyman, it's just that support and service. And
knowing each other, right? Like love languages. I love that assessment. Yeah. Love that assessment so much. I would say.
Do you use that with your clients, the love languages?
I have it with my clients, but I used it here in our house. So like we all took it as
even
family.
With your kids too? Oh yeah. Love that.
Yeah. So
I never thought of that.
So I learned a lot about my husband, and it all made sense. And it was probably, we were already like 20 years into our marriage.
Sure.
When I found out that touch was his number one love language. And if you read about that, it's not necessarily in a, sexual way that sometimes people think, but it made sense. I was like, oh my gosh, and mine's not. That's like 5th on my list.
Yes. Oh my, that you're speaking. Yes. The same. Yes.
I was like, I ain't got time for that.
No.
Right.
What are you doing?
But now it made so much more of a difference. And
I'm writing that down because I would love to do that with the kids too. And I think that helps them really understand too, like communication is so key.
We're all so different. So I'd say that's really helpful in any relationships and keeping the harmony at home, even at work and with your partners, with the team, if you're running a team or a small business. I'd say the other thing is, and again, we only know what it feels like to be a working mom. We're women, right? And moms. And one, asking for help. Yeah. I think that as moms, we think that we're weak if we ask for help.
I got goosebumps when you said that. That's so very true. Yes.
Yeah. We think we're weak because we're not doing it all. I would say one of the things, and it's so funny because my 19-year-old daughter had said this the other day. She had said, we are strong, independent women and we can do it. And so when we were raising them, we were teaching them to be independent, but at the same time, giving them responsibilities that normally a mom would put on themselves. So I'll just give you a couple of life-changing examples.
Yes.
When they were at the point where they understood how to use a computer, so this was grade school. Once they understood it, we created our family Google Calendar, and I was not responsible for entering their activities in there. I was like, you're in dance, you're in swim, you go put them in the calendar.
Yeah.
One, we're teaching them how to function as a family, if that makes sense, which is a life skill. And then secondly, then when they would come to us and they're like, hey, can I go to so-and-so's for a play date or whatever to sleep over? I'd be like, go to the calendar, right? Like, what do we have going on? Because you also, as a family member, need to support your sister, meaning you're going to her events. She's not just going to yours. So that's one. I would say probably by the time they were in 2nd grade, they did their own laundry. I never packed their lunch because I'm like, you need to learn about what is good food to eat. And oh, by the way, I'm not going to go pack something and then have you not eat it because you don't like it.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
we know that happens.
So just all these little mini things that working moms and dads can do that in turn teach them life lessons, but takes less of the burden off of you.
Yes.
And that's,
it shows them the responsibility. Like
yes.
this is what's going on behind the scenes. Now you take ownership of this. I found out the other day, my son doesn't know how to boil noodles. And my mind was blown.
And
I'm
how
like,
old is he?
16. Well, how do I know how long to keep them in there for? Look at the box. You know what I mean? Like, we're not making these noodles from scratch. It's written like on the box. So that was a wake up moment. I mean, they've all been doing their laundry, and I actually got that from another parent because I heard that, and the kids all have chores. But I always did the laundry, and another parent said, well, my kids do the laundry. I'm like, they're capable? Like, they're able to do that? Yeah, let's add that on. So,
and who cares if they mix the whites with the darks? No. I don't care.
Yeah.
It actually turns out fine, ironically, but I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. It's great. And it's one less thing for me to do. They take ownership of the fact that, hey, if I don't have clean clothes, I guess that's on me, you know. And we use Cozy. So Cozy, the calendar Cozy, is like the family
I
calendar.
have heard of that.
And
that's a great,
and that works out really well too. My daughter is kind of like a little mini mom. So she is unfortunately very much like me in all of my most negative traits, and very bossy. Like, that's just, now it sometimes works in my benefit. But man, I tell my friends sometimes, like, thank you for still being my friend, because I realize now in retrospect, I was not the nicest friend. I was very bossy, very type A. But she'll look at the calendar and say, hey, Mom, I want to sleep over by Callie's on Friday. It doesn't look like I have anything going on, and Johnny just has guitar on Sunday. Is that okay? You know, so she's like taking
Love that.
But that's, now if we can learn how to cook meals, that would be cool.
Right. Well, there's always cereal, the backup of cereal. Let's be honest.
And that is usually the backup. Yeah. I do have to say, I do like making the kids' lunches. And I am very aware that might be going to waste, but I do it for me. It's really just me feeling like I've contributed. Now I'm part of the middle of their school day because they see like what I put together for them. So that's a very selfish reason for doing the lunches, not because I don't think they're capable, but I just really enjoy making them breakfast in the morning and packing their lunches. And it feels like a mom thing to do.
And honestly, you hit the nail on the head. You enjoy it, right? Mm-hmm. And so we all compare ourselves to others, and what should we do? What shouldn't we be doing? There's also pieces that you may choose to keep doing or take ownership of in the home based on the duties, because it fills your bucket, right? It's all about filling our bucket. It's all about our energy too, right? And so I love tracking kind of throughout the day. I actually got this from the book, Buy Back Your Time, is tracking every 15 minutes of what you're doing, and then also ranking the energy level when you do it. So for example, like, I do get energy when I make my bed in the morning. Like, I love it when I walk in my room, and then at the end of the day, it's all crisp and clean, and it sounds silly, and the pillows are all fluffed. And so I took note of that. I'm like, okay, like, I like doing that. And so it's also knowing what really fills your energy and what doesn't. And how can we get rid of the stuff that really doesn't give us energy? But imagine too, if you knew that with your kids. So like, interesting enough, like, I have one of my daughters, she loves to clean. She loves organization. I'm like, great, you be the cleaner. Eventually we got to a point, now she's in college, and I'd be like, hey, I'll pay you $50 or whatever, come and clean my house, because I would probably give her $50 anyway. And then, I have one daughter who, she's a little bit more detailed, and she likes maybe, she for a while was creating my Canva flyers on Canva, or create this or create that. And so, like, why would I not want her to do also what fills her energy, And so how can we all be in our energy and our strength zones? Because then we're all happier. So,
I think that's a big part of balancing too, is saying yes to the things that you think are actually going to bring you joy, and not that you feel like you have to. Like, I'm obligated to something I should be doing, rather than the things that you enjoy. Because are you really bringing your best self to something that you're just saying yes to because you feel like you should?
Yeah.
Like, our time is valuable. I had a breakdown moment yesterday at my son's football practice. We had moms practice, and they invite the
Oh,
moms to practice, and we could practice with the boys. We put on the pads and the helmets, and it was a lot of fun. But I had some moments where I'm like, I've only got 2 years left of this, and then he's off on his own, not
oh.
boiling noodles and doing whatever he has to survive. And I was struggling, and I'm thinking, man, there's moms here who have seniors and they're holding it together, and here I am with a junior thinking my time is so limited, and I do understand, like, the embracing the journey and the journey he's on as his own
Yeah.
person and all the great things that are to come. I get it, but at the same time, it's how am I going to adjust and balance so that I know I'm making time to really soak in what I've got
Mm.
the next 2 years with him. You know what I mean?
Is he your oldest?
Yeah.
Oh, so
So
yeah, so that's
yeah,
yeah.
he's my oldest, and then I have an incoming freshman and a 7th grader. So my daughter is the youngest. So it's just
Yes.
kind of all the different stages and phases, and watching my daughter kind of become more independent, where she used to want to do everything with me, and now she is like, Mom, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like, what? You don't want to come and do this? You used to love this. But so
Yeah.
just kind of thinking, like, my time of so what I'm looking for, like, of influence too. Is my time of influence running low? And how am I going to balance that
Yeah.
with the fact that I have, these different companies and all of these other responsibilities that I feel towards everybody else involved in these companies too, right? So it's a lot of
Yeah.
balancing. I think it's
You'll
possible.
Yeah, and you'll enjoy it because it'll change, right? And
Yeah.
so I've noticed now that my girls are both in college, they're calling for other things, right? Like, oh,
Mm.
hey, I'm going on an interview. What should I say? Or what should I do? Or what should I
Oh, yeah.
wear? Or, hey, I'm filling out this tax form. It's all these
Yeah.
adulting.
They
It's
always
these
need us. It's just they need us for different stuff.
adulting things. Hey, I
Yeah.
need to get a credit card because I need to build credit. I'm like, yeah, you do. And so let's talk about what that could look like if you're not responsible. So
Mhm.
it's adulting conversations. And
Yeah.
so it's then embracing that and taking that
Mhm.
call. It just becomes
Yeah.
different. It's like, ooh, I better pick up the phone. Like,
Yeah. So
you
are
know,
your girls local, or have they
yeah,
gone
they
away to
are.
college? Okay.
Well, so my youngest, who's going to be a sophomore, she's at Whitewater. So
Okay.
obviously close enough, but she lives there, during the
Sure.
school year. And then my oldest, who's going to be a senior, she's at UW Milwaukee. Now she
Okay.
lives on her own. And she's in the nursing program there.
Awesome.
But close by, like
Yeah.
they did not want to be far from each other
Mhm.
or far from us. And it works out
That's awesome.
perfectly. So, and then we sold
Yeah.
the home that we raised them in and moved into a condo. So really
And
our
that's
oldest
a
has
whole
nowhere to.
new Yeah, that's a whole new thing. How did that go over with the girls? Were they supportive of that, or were they upset?
It was a little ugly. So
Yeah.
Raina, our youngest, was a senior when we sold our home
Mm.
um, in Brookfield. And I could feel the market shifting. Like I
Mhm.
felt it.
Mhm.
We also knew we were going to want to sell it once she graduated, and we just had an opportunity. And we happened to buy a duplex, an investment property. And when I went to go look at it with my husband, because he was the one that's like, hey, I think we should buy it. He does all the searching and then whatever. I was like, I think that we should move in here. Like, I think that I could handle being here for a year. Smart
Mm.
investing, right?
Mhm.
You get a better interest rate. You could put less down. I was like, what if we were to sell our home and move in here for the year that we're required to move here to get the better interest rate and then decide where we're going to go?
Mm.
So we didn't know what we were going to do. It just, the opportunity was there. That's when the
Yeah.
interest rates were at the lowest, all the things just were kind of aligned. But yeah, no, she was not happy about that because she had to drive from Wauwatosa to Brookfield to finish her senior year.
Sure.
Couldn't have her graduation in our backyard. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm like, I want to teach you something. One, I think
Mhm.
building wealth is important. We wanted to talk about investing, and just sometimes you make hard choices.
Mm-hmm.
We're helping you with college, we're sharing it, but like all these things are going to help for our future. And so, then the year came up, and of course, I guess the downside of being in real estate, when somebody announces at an office meeting, hey, I got a condo downtown Third Ward, and you're like, oh, maybe I should go look.
Yeah.
And so I feel like every piece of real estate we've ever bought along the way, it's because I heard it from somebody else.
Sure. Yeah. And how are you liking the new lifestyle?
I love it. And here's a recommendation that I would have, or what I've taken from it as we move into this empty nester phase. And so I think that I heard this in a Jay Shetty. I don't know if you follow Jay Shetty, one of his podcasts. It's actually on my LinkedIn page, by the way.
Okay.
It's currently earmarked my favorite podcast.
Okay.
One of the tips I heard, because we're not really taught how to love, like we're not taught the different phases. And one of the things that he said in there, and to keep a healthy marriage or any healthy relationship, is we have the things that we do alone that we're experts at. Maybe we grew up doing. We have the things then we want to teach our spouses or our loved ones. But what are the things that you're doing that you're both experiencing new for the first time? So that I'm not here and you're here. Something happens differently. And so I noticed something happened differently. We're coming up on a year. Is my husband and I got to have the opportunity, as we entered empty nesterhood, to experience something new together. And that's really what we're experiencing. Yes, we visited the Third Ward, but we're in it. Like we're experiencing what our own backyard has that we had no idea, because we were busy out living in the suburbs and taking our kids to their activities. And so here we are, we're making new friends together. It's not, hey, you meet my friend, I meet your friend.
Yeah.
We're experiencing new restaurants together. We're experiencing the river, we got ourselves a pontoon and whatever. And so it created a new thing within our marriage. And so as you get to this stage of, you've got years yet, but when we have a successful marriage, there are phases, and you do grow and you do change. Yes, your core values probably stay the same, but you do change, you grow, and you're in different phases. And so it's been, that part has what I've observed, that we are now in this new phase. That's what I've enjoyed most.
Did you think 20 years ago you'd end up in a condo in the Third Ward?
I don't know if I thought that 20 years ago, but I do remember every once in a while when we would come into the city, or we'd go to Summerfest, or we'd go to Milwaukee Public Market or whatever. We did always say like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to live here? Like we always just kind of like, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
But it happened very quickly.
Yeah.
I was like, what else?
Yeah. You can always sell it. Yeah. You can always move again. Yeah. I mentioned to my kids, we were downtown a couple months ago, and I said, someday I'm going to live down here. I'm going to be able to walk to everything. I'm going to be able to go on the river. I'm going to be able to do all of these things. And they said, what? What do you mean? You're going to sell our house? And I was like, oh, I guess I just never really thought of how that would affect you. Where are your grandchildren going to play? Where are we going to have Christmas? And I'm like, I don't, we're not going to need 4 bedrooms,
And you won't have grandchildren right away. So here's the thing. That was the other thing that Nick and I said to each other. If we're going to do this, now is the time. They're in college. Now, 10 years from now, maybe not, if they choose to get married and have children and whatever. But like, it's now or never. And here's the interesting thing, Angela. You have no idea how many people have said to me, oh, I've always thought it, like what you just said, who said, wow, that's such a great idea. I want to do that. Or I wish I would have done that. Or we should do that. And I'm like, okay, could we please stop shooting our life away? Like, pull the trigger, like do something risky, do something for you, something for you. And whatever, we could sell it. We could rent it, like if we're feeling like now we're ready to entertain a big family. Okay, great. Now we make a shift, we make a change. But right now, this is perfect. So, and very risky, don't get me wrong, because man, you go from no storage where you raised your family for 17 years and you got for whatever reason, we kept paper taxes from 1990 and you just got pie crud everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was not fun.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't want to
Yeah.
just keep saying, hey, we should, or I want to.
Right.
Like, let's go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that for sure. And I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But it's the fear. It's a big thing, but you only live once, right? I
Yeah,
mean, not to be
one
cliche,
time.
but this is it.
This is it. This is my vessel. Like, and I
Yeah.
only get one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why so many of us in this industry, if we struggle with mom guilt, like we definitely have, you know, that's a real thing.
It's
right?
real.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's real. But it's not just mom guilt. It's guilt in general, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm home. I feel guilty. I'm not doing X at work.
Mhm.
Oh, wait, no, you know, I'm at work and I feel guilty. I'm not doing this at home. Or, oh, wait, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm not working out. Now I feel guilty about that. Oh, she did this and she's showing
Yeah.
this. And, you know, obviously social media doesn't help, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, it's taken me years to
Yeah.
be like really where I am today.
Mhm.
And so, lots of trying and failing and figuring and I mean, I am not perfect by any means. Constantly my kids are accusing me of really not listening. They're always like, you're not listening.
Mhm.
And I don't even have to have this in front of my face
Yeah.
to not listen. It's just because my brain is constantly creating that I can literally look at them. They'll say something and I'll go, uh-huh. And then 2
Yeah.
weeks later, I'll be like, okay, where are you going? They're like, Mom, you're not listening. They still say that to me.
Yeah.
They still say that to me. And
that's a struggle in our house too. Like, what are you doing? I just told you and I just asked you if this was okay. And I said, was I on the computer at the time you asked me that? Yeah. Well, just know anytime I'm on the computer, I'm not listening to you. Like, you'd think after, you know, I've been doing this for 18 years. This is all my kids know. You'd think at some point they would have learned, like, mom works at different times and in different ways. And, you know, you think they pick up on it, but at the end of the day, they don't care. Like, you're just mom, right?
It's almost like we need to teach them, unless I'm holding your head, your face in my hands, right? And I'm looking at your eyes, I'm really not processing.
Yeah.
Like I have to teach myself to actually hear and process. I can hear, but there's a difference when you process.
Yeah.
And 99% of the day, I'm not processing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big advocate for time blocking.
Yeah.
So my days are blocked and color coded, and it looks like a rainbow exploded on my Google Calendar. It's just everything.
Yes.
And I really started implementing that, I don't know, very long time ago. But the reason being is I felt like, okay, if I can time block my day out, I know that after this time, I can be totally present. I can be there. I can put my phone down or whatever it might be. And then, but you're right, the brain doesn't stop just because your calendar says it's supposed to stop now. It's just that innate part of you. So part of me thinks, okay, I'm really teaching my kids without teaching them how to be how to be a hard worker, how to be an entrepreneur, how to do those things. And then I wonder, okay, am I just justifying it to myself and making it seem okay? Or am I really doing it, or both? Maybe that is me justifying it is actually teaching them something.
And listen, our kids are going to, if they decide to have their own families, they're going to want to do things differently. That is the evolution of life.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the less serious we can take things and just do the best that we can. And then just encourage them to get a counselor if they need it, because it's always the mom's fault. That's what I always say. I'm like, here's the good news.
Yeah.
Start saving your money now, because clearly I screwed you up. So, you know, it's just, we kind of joke about that, but we do the best that we can.
Yeah.
But okay, can you and I talk about, can I just like do a little pivot for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
this is for realtors, okay? Because
Mm-hmm.
I coach in a lot of different industries. But can we like get on our soapbox and somehow teach this industry to not act like brain surgeons and help us? Yeah, I know. This is where you and we've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
How can we change this industry? Like, I just don't know how we can do this. Like, so we're not like at a Saturday night having to present an offer at 7 p.m.
I think it's irresponsible and unprofessional to not set limits on your time of when those things are going to take place. And the problem is within the industry. The problem is our peers and our colleagues who think the way that they're going to win or the way that they're going to compete with you is to be available 24/7. And the amount of agents that I hear use that as their selling point, I think, how unprofessional. Because for one, if you don't set limits on your time and potentially, let's say you're at a wedding or you're anywhere, like you went out to dinner and you had a drink, I cannot legally present you this offer if I have been drinking. It is irresponsible, it's unethical, and yet I'm required to do it, right? So how, and not to say that I have done that, but I know that it happens. We don't, and our industry as a whole revolves around happy hours and events where we're socially drinking.
Yep.
But at the same time, we're constantly picking up our phone, answering, questions about contracts and things like that. It's how are we proving ourselves as a professional industry to consumers and to the world when we are acting like, college kids, like who are going out and drinking and then is cramming for an exam. You know what I mean? Like there needs to be times where we as an industry know when is an acceptable time of day to do business, so that we can't, like, let's say you want to, if we as an industry want to compare ourselves to brain surgeons and doctors and lawyers and things like that, do you think your doctor, when he knows he's on call, is out drinking?
No.
No.
Even my own, my husband's a firefighter. Like when he's on call, he's like, nope, I'm on call today. No drinking. I got to be available, whatever. And so, yes, like I don't even know how to change that. There's two things that I wish I could change in this industry. And I love real estate deep down in my core, or I would not still be a part of it.
Yeah.
That's one, if there was a standard like, hey, business, meaning contractual work only happens Monday through Friday from, we can act like banks, right?
Yeah.
8 to 5.
Yeah.
You can still show homes at night.
Sure.
You can still write offers at night. You can still, if you choose to, but all acceptance and bindings and, binding acceptance and dates and whatever happen during those hours, let's just say.
Yeah.
That would be one that I would love to change. And then the second one would be the standards for the industry.
Yeah.
So the stat that I recently looked at, I think it was 73% of those that get in or out in less than 12 months. And then 87% are out within 5 years. Now, there is a percentage of people where they discover it's not the right industry for them. There's no judgment on them. That's totally get that. But like, where are the standards when it comes to, I guess I would say, the bar, right? Like, let's just pretend we had a bar where it was like, hey, in order for you to actually be a realtor. Realtor.
Yeah.
2 syllables, by the way.
Correct.
Not realtor. Let's all also learn how to say our own profession. It's not a doctor. It's a doctor.
Right.
Just a little mini pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever that might look like. Like if you don't sell at least, 6 homes a year or 10 homes a year, something. Because
how do you stay current?
Professionalism comes from experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. So, but anyway, maybe
but we live in an HD Yeah, I mean, we live in an HGTV world where everything is glamorized on social media, and it makes this profession sometimes just it looks very different than what it actually is if you're doing it the right way.
I know.
And it sucks.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's been like that forever. And I don't even know if it's just, yeah, HGTV does glorify it, but
Mhm.
those statistics have been that
Yeah,
way since the day of
true.
tracking the statistics
Yeah.
through the National Association of Realtors. Just
I do
because,
think that if there was a more realistic portrayal of what this career was like, there'd probably be less turnover because I
Mhm.
think people wouldn't get into it if they actually knew what it was like. Like
Yeah.
I mean, we wear so many different hats, right? We have to know how to market. We have to know how to sell. We have to know how to look at contracts and review contracts and write legally binding, uh, phrases. And we need to know about title. And we need to know so many different things. You can love houses all you want, but that doesn't mean you can be a realtor.
Yes.
Is they just don't like you have to who are you going to sell a house to? You have to find clients, find people who want to work with you. Like what? What do you mean? I have to
Yeah.
convince people to work with me? Well, yeah,
Yeah.
where did you think the business was going to come from? So,
Yeah. Exactly. But
yeah.
well,
So
anyway.
that's
Well,
yeah, I know. That's something that we struggle with and maybe someday we'll have a meeting of the mind somewhere, but I just think as long as there's that mentality of work comes before anything, I'm
mhm.
available to you 24/7. Um, and I guess that can be a business model for somebody, but it doesn't say much for our industry.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
I
it
I
doesn't.
I don't want to work with somebody who tells me they're available 24/7.
No.
And you have to set expectations, which is something that I've always done. And I also had to prioritize and say, if I'm working with somebody who is expecting this of me and I know I can't deliver, then we're not the right fit. And maybe I refer them to somebody who does say they're available 24/7 because I'm not going to set an expectation that I can't deliver
Yeah.
because I won't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. So
Yeah.
true.
But I do think you have to pay your dues too. There were definitely times where, you know, you would just take whatever you could get because that's what the market or whatever
Yeah.
dictated. There were some tough times there for a while, but
Well, that's like what we talked about, the counterbalance,
yeah.
the counterbalance is when you say paying your dues, it's like, okay, I'm, just starting my business. It's very
Mhm.
different than somebody who's been in the business for 5 years, 10 years, 20
Yes.
years. It's just like any business, right?
Mhm.
If you were to open up a restaurant, what you're going to pour into it, the first 3 years, the first 5 years is very different on the back end. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there are
Short-term
certainly
sacrifice, long-term gain. I'm putting in a lot
totally
of time now so that I can have a lot of time for other things later.
right.
That's part of it. Otherwise, we
Yeah.
wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's not sustainable forever.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we agree you can find a balance. It's just going to look a little bit different for everybody and at different times of your life. I think there was a key, and I always ask my guests this question. I ask them, what a truth to you that keeps you and your life in balance. And you thought humor was definitely a big part of keeping that balance.
I think humor and not taking things personally would be the other one I
Yeah.
would say.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, if we equate it to the real estate world, is we don't it's our job to be the calm between the buyer, the seller, the agent, the title company. That's our job to be the calm.
Hmm.
And so if a client decides it's not the right home for them because of whatever, it could be a defect, it could not be, whatever it might be, we don't have to own that,
Hmm.
right? It's our job just to be the facilitator, be the calm. So that's
Yeah.
one, and that's not taking it personally. And then as for humor, I don't know, it's just what gets me through life, right?
Yeah.
It's like, why am I taking it so seriously? Like, I'm still growing and learning. I don't have I'm 50 years old. I still got at least 50 more years of learning and growing, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be here to at least 100. And
I say that all the time, Kim. I was just thinking that earlier. Like, you know, you get to a certain age where you're like, okay, my body is just different than it was. Like, I don't understand what's happening. I used to know what was going on, but man, I'm planning on living till I'm like 100, 110 solid. Like, keep doing the right things. I can get there. You know, I don't know what God's plan is, but that's mine. If I got
and I'm telling you, the body, girlfriend, that's a whole nother podcast, maybe a different title. It's called menopause. Okay. Well, we won't talk about that here, but no, that ain't pretty. So
but you're right. Like I just thought that was interesting that you said, I plan on living till I'm 100. Cause I say it's on my vision board, like a birthday cake with 100 on it and candles. Like that's for sure.
I mean, I got the best 50 years of my life to live. And so I just, you know, look in the mirror every day and be like, how can I grow? How can I prove? How can I be the best version of myself? How can I contribute to my family, my loved ones, and the society as a whole, and bring my best self to the table? And so, you know, I don't know, if you just put humor into it and you're calm about it and not take life so seriously that we've got to be perfect this way and look this way and be this way, we can have more fun while we're here.
Yeah. And who wants to be serious all the time?
I seriously, I would not be married as long as I am if we didn't have humor in our world. Right.
Yeah.
So
totally necessary. Well, thank you so much for spending so much time with me. This is a great conversation. I hope we can do it again sometime. And I know that you have a lot to offer. So if somebody wants to find out where they can follow you, get more information about your coaching, where would we look?
Yeah, thank you. I would just go to kimrogne.com, KIMROGNE.com. It'll take you to my link tree. I've got all my links there for my journals, for my all sorts of different things. And then just follow me. I would say mainly on Instagram is where I like to have a little fun and bring some value. And that's just at Kim Rogne. So,
all right. Awesome. Well, thanks, Kim.
Have
a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Awesome. Bye.
If you have found value in these episodes, please be sure to share and subscribe. I have so much more in store with guests that I can't wait